This is Rob from Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I'm doing a little review and impressions about the QSP Penguin Mini. Pretty cool little knife that I was able to get a hold of, and I think you would really like to maybe hear a little bit more about, I hope. I've certainly enjoyed it. I have both the regular Penguin and the Penguin Plus. Both of these are really, really great knives, and this one I think is really of interest for a lot of folks if they're looking for maybe a little fifth pocket knife. This in particular is, I think, a great consideration. It has a lot of nice aesthetics and things about it that I think you would enjoy. So let's go ahead and dig into this. This is the Penguin Mini, and this particular scale is the G10. I believe it's red and black shredded G10 mixed together. It almost looks a little bit like carbon fiber with some of the reflection, if you can see that. So I think it's kind of cool. It kind of has a little, feeling that maybe it's a little nicer scale on top of the steel liners. It does have a deep pocket carry clip. If you notice, the screws aren't necessarily recessed all the way. They stick out a little bit, but you still have a nice ramp to get over the clip here, and they are pretty low, so it's going to clear fairly well. Definitely for a fifth pocket, I think it will be really nice. It does have standoffs in the back, steel standoffs, and has the QSP logo, so you know that this pivot is it's a locked pivot. It's not going to be a free roaming pivot where you have both screws on both sides, so that's nice. Other things, it's thumb studs, and that's for your form of deployment. So as you deploy the blade, it is a Wharncliffe blade. I do like that. You can see I've used it a little bit here. So this is a pretty nice little blade. I think that's very enjoyable. Very flat grind all the way up, comes down to a pretty thin edge. I mean, it's not super thin, but very slicey. I think it's really very useful. It's got a great edge there. It goes all the way out to the tip, as you can see. Very useful. It's got some nice jimping on top here, and you can get a good 3-finger grip on this. I have medium to medium large hands, so for me I find this pretty comfortable, with 3-finger grip. Again, I find this more of like a fifth pocket knife. If you have really small hands, then this might be a great main knife. It might be something really nice to carry, or if you are very limited in the size of the knife that you can carry, this would maybe definitely be worth considering. It is a liner lock, as you can see, and it locks up pretty well, and from what we have here, it looks like it's about 20%. Yeah, so we're right at 20%, I think. Yeah, it looks like about 20%. So that's nice, and it does drop pretty nicely. It's got caged ceramic ball bearings, which is really nice. I think that gives it some nice smooth action as far as the knife when it opens and closes, and it does reverse flick really nice as well, so you can do that, and it drops pretty nicely after it breaks in. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other things. The blade steel in this thing is, let's see if we can get that. Is that on this side here? Yeah, here we are. 14C, let's see, can we get that? Yeah, 14C 28N. So 14C 28N, which is a great budget steel, really good budget steel for the price. Something like this around $55, really great deal. I think you'll find that this is of great value for the price. Now, one thing I can do, I've gotten used to, is I do a middle finger here. I can kind of flick that open. Of course, doing it on camera. There we go. So if you're someone who's familiar with how to do a middle finger flick, you can do that on both sides. Oops, let's get over here. That is very possible, which is nice besides the thumb stud. So it gives you kind of another form of deployment. I like that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. That's fine. A lot of these screws here, these are T6s. The pivot is a T8. So there's that. For a budget knife at this price range, I wouldn't expect really much more. So that's kind of acceptable. It's very well centered. It did come in very well centered, so really nice about that. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of measurements after we take a quick look at this. You can see it's a nice flat sand belt. Sorry, I can't talk here, but it's a very belt sand. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've been out for a little bit, so if you're wondering where some of my videos were, I had a little dental work and I was unable to talk. Had a dental emergency with a tooth that really had a lot of problems. Had to go see some dentists for that, and still have some extra work to do down the road. But we are on the path to recovery, and we're out of the serious pain, so that's good. But I may still fumble on some of my words as I'm trying to talk with that, so I appreciate your patience there. But needless to say, this is a belt ground sand flat flat satin finish. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, a belt ground satin finish, which I think is really nice. You'll notice that I believe it's, you know, the kind of a down the blade here and then up here that way, so you've got two different kind of blade angles. There's really not a great sharpening choil, so if that's of concern, you know, it's something to consider. You will cut into some of that blade when you have to sharpen it. So there's that. Let's go ahead and weigh this little guy. You go ahead and close it, get it up here, make sure it's zeroed. All right, so this is 2.82 ounces, very light for what you get. That's a good, nice, easy weight. And let's go ahead and do a little bit of measurement. As you can see right here, it's less than 3 inches for sure. And we'll go ahead and do a little measurement here. Yeah, so we're probably about 2¼ inches for the blade, all the way from blade to the tip. You know, if people are such as less than 2.5 inches, so it'll definitely fall into those, you know, places where less than 3 inches, you should be fine. And the handle on this one is definitely going to be about 3¼ inches, so it's on the smaller side for sure. The whole length of the knife altogether is about 5.5 inches, so it's certainly a small knife. No question about that. Let's go ahead and do a quick measurement of the blade stock thickness. I've had a little trouble with my caliper here lately, so I might need to get another one. Let's see, what do we got here? We got 0.1195, so 0.12 inches, so not too bad. 0.12 of an inch, 0.12 or 120th hundredth of an inch or whatever. It's 0.12. You know, it's relatively thin, but for such a small knife, I mean, that's not very terribly thin. And so, you know, you definitely have a little sturdiness in this knife. It definitely could do a lot of good work. And it is a liner lock, pretty strong steel liner lock with the steel inserts here, steel liners. So that's really nice. So there's a lot of benefit, I think, with that. One thing I found interesting when I took it apart to clean it out, and I tuned the detent a little bit, because I'm a fan of, I don't like overly strong detents, especially on a very small knife like this. You want to be able to easily reverse flick it and not have any issues with that. Some people like really, really strong detents, so if you do, knife will be perfect for you, but I like to tune it a little bit. But when I did take it apart, one thing I did notice is that this particular deep carry pocket clip, actually, if you can see this, goes in behind the scale. I thought that was interesting, and that explains why it is much thinner. It's not as deep as some of the other Penguins that I have, which, you know, I have another Penguin, but it is not, it's one of those traditional pocket knives exclusives, and we'll do a little comparison here in a second. So let's go ahead and I'll bring in the QSP right now. This is the regular QSP size, and you can see that this is probably, if we're going to do edge to edge, we're probably going to be, yeah, so we're 3/4, maybe 4/5 of an inch bigger. So it's certainly a larger blade, and if you look at the handle, it's probably same, 3/4 of an inch larger in handle as well. So, you know, in this one you can certainly get forehand grip, and you can choke up a little bit here as well if you needed to. So there's that. This one is a frame lock, as opposed to this one is a liner lock. So if you wanted to compare that. So I probably, because I know so many people have Penguins, the regular Penguin, I'm going to go ahead and start making that one of my size comparisons. But to bring it in, we'll bring in like a little Benchmade bug out to kind of give you a size comparison here. And then, of course, we'll bring in a little Paramilitary 3. Kind of see the size comparison there. You can see certainly a smaller knife. No questions asked there. And of course Paramilitary 2, which is a rather large knife. And you can see it's certainly a small knife. Definitely gets overshadowed by a knife of that size. So there's that. I think this is a great fifth pocket carry knife. I really like it for that purposes, and one of the reasons why I was glad to get a hold of this. And if you we do a nice close up shot here. I know some people like to see it really closely and get some nice zoomed in images of the knife itself. Make sure we can get it focused. We'll do that on the other side here as well. Make sure we got the light on there. An inside liner lock as well. So very, very nice knife. I really enjoy this knife. Fun, fidgety little knife. Very useful. I like carrying it, especially when I'm carrying a nicer knife and I want a fifth pocket knife. This is great. I have learned my lesson in carrying a fifth pocket knife, especially I went to a party and I had a very a nicer knife with me that I probably wouldn't do some tasks with, and they asked me to open a bottle of wine that had aluminum foil around the top. And I would normally not do that with a pocket knife, but I'm the knife guy, and they asked, "Hey, Robert's got a knife. Can you cut that?" I felt on the spot, and I felt like I was on the spot, and I did it, and really regretted it as soon as I did, because I cut into aluminum foil, which cuts into the glass, which rolled a blade, and I had to sharpen that afterwards. Would be a great time to have a fifth pocket knife like this, where 14C28N steel is it's budget steel, and it's something you can sharpen, hone right up. It's not expensive, and you're not worried about a nicer knife that otherwise you might be. So I think this is why it's a great little knife. I like the Penguins. I think they're great little fifth pocket knives, something definitely to consider, and if something you like, I think you should consider it. As far as budget knives, I'm definitely going to make this a recommended budget knife. I think for the size, if the aesthetics, if the size fits you, you will really, really like this. If it's too small, you will definitely not like it and probably won't even consider it. And that's fine, because there's lots of choices out there. Matter of fact, the regular Penguin might be your fifth pocket knife, and you get the Penguin Plus, that might be your main knife. So who knows, right? Anyways, I've enjoyed carrying this. The action I found was really nice. It broke in well. It's fun to use. It retains its edge well. It hones right up really nice on a leather strop. You can just sharpen that up and get the edge nice and sharp and back. So as long as I do that, I haven't really had to do any reprofiling the edge or anything. If you have any questions about this review, please feel free to leave some comments down below. I'd love to hear from you and know what other things you might like to hear in a review or an impression, some things you would like maybe someone to look at or consider or talk about. That sure would help me. And if you found this interesting, helpful in any way, would you please consider subscribing and maybe hitting the like button? That sure would help me out and help me know that the content I provide is of value and something that worth keep producing for everyone. And if you found this interesting and would like to consider following me over on Instagram, please do it. Robs_nerdy_knives. That's Robs_nerdy_knives. Hey, thanks so much for watching today, and have a great day and a great week. Bye.